Hey, Planeteers, it has been a little bit, and that is because I got cataract surgery and I am currently recovering, but my focus is well enough to do this video. I want to give bonus points to my lovely wife. One, for pointing out that with these special glasses, it looks like I'm cosplaying Plastic Man. Love it. The second bonus point is for not saying that I look more like Woozy Winks. So if you get that distinction, you're at the right place. Before we go any further, I do want to send well wishes out to everyone who is about to endure Comic Con's new version of Hotelpocalypse this week, Wednesday. And some people will be dreaming of new comics, and some people will be freaking out because inevitably they try a new system. I think this can only end in tears. Yes, I believe I'm quoting Bartok from Anastasia. So, anyway, I'll be part of that wailing and gnashing of teeth that you're looking forward to. Anyway, be that as it may, the rules of the stack each week that I go to House of Secrets in Burbank, California, and I pick up a stack of comics, and I now choose a few to just kind of highlight because I've gotten a little bit behind. I knew I was behind on reading some, but now I realize both it's repetition, like, oh, I'm still reading Superman, for this reason. But is it like the best issue of Superman that's you got to catch? I don't know. So let's dive into it. I want to begin with a book that did everything a comic should for me. This is the first issue of the Fury of Firestorm, part of DC's Next Level, which is the next phase after All In and after DC KO. I'm not going to pick up all the books for that because, like I admit, I think I've said a couple of weeks ago, it's just me. I feel like the cynicism of what it takes to do a Deathstroke book is not for me right now. I need things that are a little more inspirational. So I've always liked Firestorm. I remember when, way back when, Fury of Firestorm, I think the original book was Firestorm, the Nuclear Man by Jerry Conway, and cannot remember who the original co-creator artist was. Anyway, that was very exciting. I loved the hero. I loved the look. It was so wild. It was so different. So I always check in when they revive Firestorm, and sometimes I stay for a very long time, and sometimes I go, okay, I've seen all there is to see in this run. So this is by Jeff Lemire and Rafael de la Torre. Colors are by Marcello Maiolo, and the letters are by Lucas Gattoni. And pardon if I squint through all this, because the other problem with the recovery from the cataract surgery is that my focus changes on a daily basis. So last night I was able to read comics just fine, and today it's a little out of focus at this distance. Oh well. So anyway, Fury of Firestorm. This did everything a first issue should do. It intrigued me and irritated me because of the setup for what Firestorm did. And if you've seen like a preview in other books, which I had read, and I can't remember the back of which DC book, but did see it, and I was like, wait a minute, no, you're making him a villain again, because Ronnie Raymond is usually used as like this hapless force of danger in a crossover, and in this case it's like, oh no, I've seen that. Oh no, I have not. So I read on, dear Planeteer, and found a really interesting, I'm not going to say take, because it is still basically the same thing, that you have Ronnie Raymond and Professor Martin Stein, and they are the Firestorm Matrix, or they were, and of course there have been very, very, very many variations, and that is acknowledged by Lorraine Riley in the book. That's a character, Ronnie's sometime girlfriend, or rather Firestorm's sometime girlfriend. See, it's a little spicy, but not too spicy. So anyway, let me get back to it. They acknowledge everything that's in the past very quickly. Jeff Lemire gets that out of the way in case you are new to Firestorm, and then sets up a very compelling problem. I'm just going to go that problem, because this is a different Firestorm than has been appearing in Justice League Unlimited for a while. I think he's been on the fringes, and that's the problem with Firestorm. I'm never quite sure how important he is supposed to be unless it was a smaller Justice League group where he got some focus. Like there's a season of Super Friends with Firestorm, which I think is awesome. Anyway, so the Matrix there, his abilities, if you don't know, is to manipulate the atomic structure of things, and it's taken to a very grotesque extreme. And there's a good reason for it. So I'm glad I stuck with it, because I think it was the first 5 or 6 pages. I was mad. No, you're making a horror book out of this. And that's not true at all. Or maybe it's a little bit true. This has actually been out for a little while, but I finally caught up. I think I have one issue to go yet, and I'm going to be looking for it everywhere I go. Cul-de-sac from Bad Idea. And this is by Mike Carey and Jonathan Weishak. And I've mentioned it before. First of all, being one of the first 2 or 3 books from Bad Idea that I've finally picked up. And I'm going to be buying the one from Josh Dysart, partially because he's a friend, but also because I think he's an incredible writer. That's The Hab. I think it comes out either end of April or beginning of May. But Cul-de-sac is about an apex predator above vampire, and the only ones left are these little kids. Not little, some are tweens, but this family that is being hunted down. And I just find it really funny. There's a quote here from Comic Drops. I don't know that site, but cool. Gritty, gory, and visually stunning. Yes, I love that Weishak's art is a little bit like Richard Corbin. And I only say a little bit. I know I do these comparisons, and then people go, who was that? But, that was a guy, again, influential when I was a kid and reading when I shouldn't have heavy metal, for example. But there's a cartoonishness and a realism, and it's gritty. Well, that adjective's right there on the cover, and it's cool. So I don't know exactly what Bad Idea's plans are for a trade paperback, but by all means, if you see it, pick it up. This has been really a fun read, Cul-de-sac. And I love that it's almost a misleading title, because yes, the whole story starts at a very nice suburban cul-de-sac, and then everything goes downhill from there. I picked up Universal Monsters Phantom of the Opera issue 2. The first issue, I kind of went into how I'd done this rabbit hole of Phantom of the Opera stuff, which I'm still sort of experiencing. And this is by Tyler Boss and Martin Simmons. And, I like it because I thought it was going to be a take on one of the movies. And I think, again, it's just sort of its own thing. And restoring Eric to, he's not a tragic hero. Gaston Leroux's novel, he is an absolute bastard. Now, whether or not he could have been redeemed somewhere in his childhood is up to us to debate. I always go to this with villains, is the little kid that was abused and put out in the cold. That kid I have great empathy for, but the monster that he grew up to be, that monster needs to be taken out. And so I kind of like seeing the Phantom return to, no, he's a monster, even if he wasn't deformed, although that's, again, probably why he chose the path he did. He's an evil genius in that novel. And so if you haven't read Gaston Leroux's original, it is terrific. Anyway, the last one I'm going to talk about this week, and I'm not actually sure it came out last week, it's just that I found it on the stand, and it gives me a chance to talk over a little bit of IP shifting back and forth. He is the latest issue of The Beauty from Ignition Press, which is always worthwhile. Jeremy Hahn, Jason A. Hurley, and Emanuela Lupacino is on the art. And I bring it up because, of course, there was, I think it just wrapped up on Hulu. Might have been on FX as well, but I go for the streaming services. Was adapted as a television series and had the weirdest damn cliffhanger, a number of episodes that I've seen. I think it's 11, and it just sort of, Are you kidding? That's the way you're gonna go? But there's a difference between the comics and the TV show, and if you didn't like the TV show, I think you should still give the comic a try. First of all, it's not quite as graphic sexually or because its drawing's gory. I think the serial killer, that is in, his name Calaveras in the comic is far more interesting. I think Anthony Ramos did a really good job in the equivalent role, but it was kind of normalized, dumbed. I'm not going to say dumbed down. It was just very different, and I think they were implying in the show that there was another killer running around, but we didn't see him. They got too busy in the hotness of it all. So in the comic, it is just a not just a it's a venereal disease, and then there are people trying to figure out how to make it into something that is more controllable in how people get it. Uh, but you never forget, both the television series and the comic, is the acknowledgement that if you have the beauty, there's a really good chance that death is coming your way. But it gets mentioned again and again that, if you get the beauty, you always run a slightly high fever, which in television you kind of forget that. And again, you get bogged down in who is this actor going to youthfully and beautifully transform into. And so, uh, I thought it wasn't a bad TV series. It just didn't have quite the same. It grabbed me for different reasons than the comic. And so, again, Ignition Press is putting the original run that had come out through Image Comics into omnibus editions. Although, again, the word omnibus edition or the phrase omnibus edition has been slowly, it's applying to a lot of different things of a lot of different lengths. But so I'm not really quite sure how big each volume is, because I had read the whole thing. I'm like, that's cool, but so you can catch up there. It's really cool playing with the different ideas of what the beauty can do. And if you don't know, it basically makes everybody hot. And it's brought up many times in the comic series. It's the disease that everyone wants to catch because they don't understand the catch. And that was part of the original run of discovering, ooh, there is, which the TV series right off the bat opened up and explained that, except for the strange super strength that one character seemed to have. Anyway, so it's cool. I love reading it. I'm digging everything I picked up from Ignition Press, which is not necessarily the easiest to find. Again, in all the snafus of what comics distribution is right now. So if you can find it, pick it up, read it, and yeah. Anyway, once again, please, for those who are going to go through Hotelpocalypse tomorrow for Comic Con, I will be there. I know I've confirmed that I will be at Comic Con. I just have no idea right now if I have a hotel because, if you go outside of their approved number, it's ridiculously expensive. And it's not that it's cheap, during the actual sale. So, anyway, thank you all. People have a lot of choices here, and going to WonderCon kind of reminded me, as I've said, that this is a podcast, even though it's not the podcast that I used to do with Rick Brett Schneider and many others. That it was fun, it was great. I just, for my own emotional health, needed to switch things up a little bit. Um, it is all on me. And so thank you for following me here. And as I always say, please use your powers for good. Oh, and keep America strong. Read comics.